In addition to creating formulas in Excel, Excel also provides or comes with a large number of functions. What I'd like to do is put some functions in these green cells. So I'm just going to delete what I have in B9. In B9, I'd like to use the most common function used in Excel, which is to sum. And I'd like to sum the yellow cells. There are a variety of ways that you can put a sum function in. Some people will use the Autosum button. They'll click it, and then they'll press enter. And that will automatically sum B4 to B8. Delete. Some people will hit the drop down on the Autosum and choose the sum function. And they'll accept the range again B4 to B8 by pressing enter. And I'll press delete. Some people will actually go to the formulas tab in the ribbon and they'll choose the Autosum here, or they'll choose the Autosum here. There's a variety of ways. Now also see mentioned there's a shortcut key, which is Alt equals. Alt equals will also automatically sum. So I'll click in the cell B9, I'll hold the Alt, and I'll press the equals key near the backspace key. There it offers to sum B4 to B8, and I'll press enter. So there's a variety of icons, as well as this icon here, insert function. Then I can choose sum, then I can choose OK, then I can choose OK, and it's automatically summed. There's really only one way that I like to apply functions to a spreadsheet, and that is by typing in the cell and not using the ribbon or the formula bar and racing around trying to find various functions. So for example, in B9 I would recommend that you go equals S. As soon as you press the equals key and the letter of the alphabet, it will find all functions that begin with that letter of the alphabet. And here's all the functions in Excel that begin with S. And there's quite a few of them. Oops, excuse me, too late. Equals S. What you can do is you can scroll down and see them all. And eventually you'll come to sum. Or, let me just go back to the top. After I type equals S, I'll add a U. And that drills down to all the functions beginning with SU. Now if I click once on this sum function, it tells me what this function does. In fact, I can click on any function and it will tell me what it does. The sum function adds all the numbers in a range of cells. So clicking once allows you to find out what the function does, and clicking twice allows you to accept that function. So I'm going to double click sum. Now it wants to know where are the numbers that you want to sum. So with my mouse I'll simply highlight B4 to B7. You can see that there's a colon or two dots between the B4 and the B7. In Excel that is read as 2. So this function says equals the sum of B4 to B7. I don't have to close the brackets, I just press enter and Excel will close the brackets for me. And the answer is 100. Let's do that again, but quicker. I'll delete that function, I'll go equals SU, double click sum, and highlight the cells, and press enter. And that automatically sums those 4 cells. Now in B10 I'd like to average those 4 cells. So average begins with equals AV. Equals AV. And there's average. If I click once, it says it returns the average or arithmetic means of its arguments. Arguments are numbers, which can be numbers or names, etc. So I'm going to double click average, highlight the 4 yellow cells, and press enter. And the average is 25. Under that, I'd like to find the largest number in the yellow cells. Equals M will allow me to then double click max, which returns the largest value in a set of values. I'll double click max and I'll highlight these 4 numbers. When I press enter, the largest number is 40. Under that, I'd like to find the smallest number in this collection of 4 yellow cells. So I'll go equals M, and instead of max, I'm looking for min. Min returns the smallest number in a set of values. So I double click min, and I highlight the 4 yellow cells, and enter. And lastly, in the next green cell, I'd like to count how many numbers have been entered in the yellow cells. Equals COU. The count function counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers, so it won't count blank cells or cells that contain text. I'll double-click count and I'll highlight these 4 yellow cells and enter. If I want to show my formulas, I'll return to the Show Formulas button I added to my Quick Access toolbar in the earlier video. This immediately shows that I have the sum of B4 to B7, the average of B4 to B7, the maximum number in B4 to B7, the minimum number in B4 to B7, and I've counted the number of numbers in B4 to B7. And I can turn that off. If I want to check if these results are correct, I'll highlight the 4 yellow cells. And back in Chapter 1, when we customized the screen, we customized the status bar so that it immediately tells us the sum of the selected cells is 100, the maximum is 40, the minimum is 10, there are 4 numbers, and the average is 25. So whatever is shown in these green cells really should balance with what's showing in the status bar, or we have a problem. The beauty of a formula or a function is that if you change what's in the yellow cells, formulas and functions automatically recalculate. If I was to delete the 10 in B4, suddenly the sum of the selected cells is 90, which is correct. The average of the selected cells is 90 divided by 3 is 30. The maximum is still 40, but we have a new minimum of 20 instead of 10. And now there are only 3 numbers in those 4 yellow cells. If I put the 10 back in, the whole thing recalculates again. There are a lot of functions in Excel, and these are 5 of the most common. If you click in a blank cell such as B15, click this button here on your formula bar called Insert Function. Then go to here and change the category from Most Recently Used to All. Notice there's a number of categories, but let's go to All to see all the functions in Excel. And here you can have an appreciation for all the functions that come in Excel. There are a lot of functions besides sum, average, max, min, and count. There's a huge variety of functions because it has to satisfy the needs of mathematicians, statisticians, database administrators, accountants, financial analysts, anybody who works with engineers, anybody who works with functions and formulas. If you sit on a particular function and you want help with that function, that's what this does. When I click on Help with this function, I'll eventually be thrown, let me just resize and move, onto the internet, and I'll be provided with help on this particular function. And here's the description here, here's a video here, and there's even information here about how the function works. And you can either copy data into the spreadsheet, as this explains, and you can add these formulas to see what results you'll get. And I'll just hit X and cancel. I'd now like you to complete the exercises in your book to practice formulas and functions.